Picture a steel pipe, 30 inches wide, coated in oil, sitting 60 feet beneath the surface of the sea. Now imagine that pipe suddenly comes alive and swallows 5 grown men whole. Not over hours, in under 90 seconds. 4 of them never came back out. Only one man crawled out of that darkness alive, carrying a story the world wasn't meant to hear. A camera was strapped to one of their suits. It recorded everything that happened down there, and what it captured will make your hands go cold. This is not a film. This is real. Trinidad, February the 25th, 2022. 5 maintenance divers, 1 underwater pipeline, and a mistake that should never have killed anyone. Their names were Christopher, Kazim, Yusuf, Rishi, and Fyzal. By the end of this video, you'll understand something far more disturbing than how they got trapped. You'll understand why help never came. So stay with me, because the real horror isn't the pipe, it's what happened after. Let's go back to that morning. Pointe-à-Pierre, on the coast of Trinidad. A company called Paria runs an oil facility here. Tankers unload crude oil at one berth, and a long underwater pipeline carries it to the refinery for processing. These 5 men were experienced divers. Their job that day was routine maintenance on a section of pipeline that had been shut down. To work safely, the team used something called a habitat, a sealed chamber that pushes water out using air pressure, creating a dry pocket to stand and work in. Think of pushing an upside-down glass into water. The air inside keeps the water out. That same trapped air was about to become the most dangerous thing in their lives. Their task sounded simple: remove an air plug sealing off part of the line. But the moment they pulled it, physics turned against them. The pressure inside the pipe was violently unbalanced. Engineers call it delta P, a difference in pressure so powerful it behaves like a vacuum. The instant that plug came loose, a wall of water and air erupted through the line and yanked all 5 men inside. In about 90 seconds, they were dragged 20 feet deeper and over 100 feet down the pipe. No light, no sound except rushing water, just black. The footage from this moment shows everything, and then nothing at all. Total darkness. By a cruel kind of luck, the pipe wasn't straight. Its bends trapped small pockets of air, and the men surfaced into one of them, gasping, alive. But the force had already broken bones. Some were badly injured and completely disoriented. Here's the cruel irony. The very air they were breathing was the same trapped air that had created the surge. The pipe should have been full of oil, but it wasn't. Low-density air had built up inside, and when high-pressure air from the chamber rushed in to meet it, it created the wave that swept them away. Now they faced one terrifying decision. There was only one way out, back the way they came, toward berth 6. Go the wrong direction, toward the seaside, and there was no exit. Only death. In total darkness, with no idea which way was which, they chose the direction their heads were pointing, and they started to move. But the pipe wasn't kind. In some sections there was air to breathe. In others, it was completely flooded. To cross those flooded stretches, they had to hold their breath and swim blind, praying there was air on the other side. Guess wrong, and you simply don't come back up. At this point, Christopher and Fyzal made a choice. The 2 of them would push ahead alone and send help back for the other 3. As they crawled forward, something almost miraculous happened. Their hands found an oxygen tank floating in the dark. Suddenly, they could travel further underwater, but they couldn't see how much air was left inside it. And soon, that tank began to run dry. Then they hit a second tank, but this one had no mouthpiece. To breathe from it, Christopher had to press his mouth directly over the open valve. And in that instant, crude oil poured straight into his mouth. Crude oil is thick, black, and toxic. It burns the eyes, the throat, the lungs. By now, Fyzal's tank was empty, and his broken body couldn't go on. So Christopher was forced to continue alone. For 2 more hours, he dragged himself through that pipe until his tank struck something solid, a bend in the line. He felt relief and dread in the same breath. This bend could mean the exit at berth 6, or the sealed dead end at berth 5. With the water too low to float him out, he did the only thing left. He began pounding on the steel, over and over, screaming for anyone to hear. And someone did. Rescuers caught the sound, lowered a chain, and pulled Christopher out alive. The first thing he said wasn't about himself. He told them his 4 friends were still inside, still alive, and desperate for help. And this is where the story stops being an accident and becomes something much harder to forgive. Rescuers were ready to go in. They were stopped. The company said they lacked large enough oxygen tanks and that sending divers down was too dangerous. Christopher tried to go back in for his friends himself. He was held back too. When rescuers tapped on the pipe, the trapped men tapped back. They were alive. They were answering. You can hear it on the footage. And still, hour after hour, no real rescue reached them. Reports describe a delay that dragged on and on, while 4 men waited in the dark for help their own employer would not send. By the time it ended, Kazım, Yusuf, Rishi, and Fyzal were gone. 4 families destroyed by a tragedy investigators later called avoidable. An official inquiry examined what happened and pointed to serious failures in how the work was run. But for the families who lost everything, real accountability felt impossibly thin. So here's the question I'll leave you with. The accident trapped them, but what killed them was the decision that nobody was coming. If this story stayed with you, hit subscribe